Okay, welcome to the weather update with Dr. Jeff Andresen. Today is, we're moving, Jeff, quickly into the middle of September. It's September 14th already, and kind of looking at what we have coming up and maybe a little bit of, current conditions, and let us know what you got going on this week.
Well, as usual, it's not dull on the weather front, and some exciting weather here in the last couple of days to talk about some severe weather. But on our I guess our weather outlook, sort of our highlights, we've got a 2-for-1 for you today. And the first one is we are looking probably at least the significant risk for some severe weather again here in Michigan, especially the southeastern lower here later on in the day and into this evening. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. That's the map you see here to begin with the slight risk. Certainly elevated, and I suspect we will see have problems, and which we have. We had severe weather, of course, on Sunday evening across central portions of the lower. We had some severe weather yesterday, including a storm that moved through here, the local area, which I don't recall. It got dark just before 1 p.m. One of those things that I was on another meeting. I wish I would have had my camera ready to go out and take some pictures, because it actually looked like night just before 1 p.m. and I had almost 7/10 of an inch of rain in 10 minutes as that storm passed over. Fortunately, there was some wind damage. I thought we might see hail with that one too, but we did not. But again, similar situation this afternoon, maybe a bit more on the widespread side. So something we'll have to keep an eye on. The other message is here, and this one looks out a little bit, and that is here looking into the medium range, especially here by the end of the weekend and into next week. What you see here is a jet stream flow pattern forecast for the middle of next week on next Wednesday. And you can see a big trough over western portions of North America and a big ridge over the east. So highly amplified, a lot of north to south flow here. And on the right-hand side here, these are temperature anomalies from normal, and you can see plastered across the Midwest and into the east. Not just above normal, but much above normal temperatures. And so this is the other, I think, something we need to look at as we move ahead. Right now, it looks like the most of the latter half of September looking to be much warmer, much more summer-like than normal. And again, I'll talk about that in just a couple minutes. For the past week here, looking in the rearview mirror, depending on where you were, but a little bit cooler than normal across far northern parts of the state, to a degree or two warmer than normal across the south. So not a large departure one way or the other. Precipitation wise, much of central and northern lower Michigan got heavy rain. Now note that the rainfall that came yesterday after 8 o'clock in the morning is not reflected here. There was significant rainfall in some sections, but we did get, as you can see, many areas at least a half an inch. In some areas, we had more than 2 inches of rainfall here in the yellows and the oranges. The heaviest totals were across central lower Michigan, and then across far southern parts of the state and some northern parts of the state, the totals were much less than that. So again, it just depended on where you were. But for many parts of the state, it continued a little bit wetter than normal, especially in the northern part of lower Michigan. And I wanted to look here spatially at really the latter part of the summer as we think about, reviewing and looking at things here over the growing season here. We started off, of course, abnormally dry for much of the state. And then in the middle of June, we had a huge changeover, and we went from too dry to almost too wet. And I just wanted to show here, these are 90-day precipitation totals. So going back really to that mid-June timeframe, and the totals here are on the left. And you can see in some cases more than 20 inches of rainfall between mid-June and here just recently. So we'll say mid-September. Some of the dark browns, well, the reds are the more than 20 inches. What is that relative to normal? Well, that's on the right-hand side here in terms of percent. And you can see for much of lower Michigan, significantly above normal we turned out for that period. Some cases more than double the normal rainfall totals for that period. So again, we went from one extreme to the other. And spatially, though, you can also see that the upper peninsula, especially the western part of upper Michigan, has remained unusually dry. here at the same time for the late summer and really up to the present. That's probably climatologically the driest part of the state right now as we move into the fall season. Soil moisture levels here as a result of that, no surprise, but they remain above normal across northern lower Michigan and below normal. Note that there is an area here in southern lower Michigan that is, well, relative to the past and relative to climatology, is drier than normal. This is plant extractable water in the top 3 feet. That's also true across significant portions of upper Michigan. And again, the dryness here on the left-hand side, in terms of stress, you can actually see some vegetative stress showing up in western upper Michigan. So that's not much of a change from where we were a couple of weeks ago. Our degree day totals, given the near normal conditions here, are not too different, but it's I think it's important to note that given all of the warm weather, we had a very, very warm August, the month of August, especially nighttime temperatures. And because of that, we have surpluses in base 50-degree day seasonal totals. This goes back to the beginning of March across almost all the state. In some cases, in terms of calendar time, we're talking about 2 to 3 weeks of surplus thermal accumulation, base 50, which is a pretty significant surplus for this time of the year. And it's largest here across the southern half of lower Michigan, where again, we're somewhere between 2 and 3 weeks, calendar weeks ahead of where we typically are at this time of the year. In the forecast, looking ahead, it's going to be probably a very, very active 12 to 24 hours. You can see this morning here, we have an area of low pressure up over the upper peninsula with a warm front that has basically that frontal boundary has been across the state for the last couple of days. It is now moving northward as a warm front. That's temporary, but note that there's a couple of cold fronts behind it, one associated with the system itself, and then a second one here off in the wings up in the northern Great Plains that will bring in cooler air tomorrow and on Thursday. And way to our south, this is Tropical Storm Nicholas, which made landfall in Texas last night. Because of this weather system and because of a northwesterly flow here aloft over the next couple of days, all of the remnants of Nicholas will remain well south of us. So no impact from us, although the Gulf Coast is going to get hammered with lots of heavy rain, which is one of the last things that they need. But we will have our own fireworks here as this system moves through. I'm going to move, and there already are some showers and thunderstorms across northern parts of the state currently this morning, but they will gradually spread to the south and east during the day and develop, especially this afternoon, across especially the southern half of lower Michigan and the southeastern half of the state for late afternoon and early evening. This is the map as of 8 p.m. this evening. You can see the cold front by that time is expected to be here all the way down into the south, or at least the lead one. That's where we're going to see the storm set up. And because of some higher winds aloft, some speed shear, we will see organized, probably severe weather. Don't be surprised to see a severe thunderstorm watch box come out. Probably the greatest threat from these storms would be high winds, but also the large hail is definitely a threat as well as they move through. Again, the most probable time for this would be mid-afternoon across central portions of the lower, and then spreading into the late in the day into the early evening as we move into the southeastern part of the state. So keep an eye on that. Most all of that activity should be over by midnight or by early tomorrow morning. And then that sets the stage for high pressure moving in. And that's what you see here tomorrow morning, the big blue H over Iowa there. Canadian high pressure, significantly or noticeably cooler and drier. We'll see our temperatures, at least in the southern part of the state, drop by about 10 degrees tomorrow. And fair, dry conditions are expected here both tomorrow on Wednesday and on Thursday as well. Here's the map for Thursday morning, and the next weather system to affect the state is off to our north and west over the northern plains. That will lead to at least the chance for some scattered showers, and nothing heavy, nothing really well organized, but we will see the threat of some rainfall beginning in western upper Michigan overnight Thursday into Friday, and then really continuing across the state during the day Friday and into Saturday. But right now it looks as though this one will be moisture starved, not much to work with. So many areas will remain dry, but there will be a chance anyway of some scattered activity. Best chances for any precipitation here in that Thursday or the Friday, Saturday timeframe will be across the north, and that will decrease as you go farther south. And again, I think by the time we get down into southern lower Michigan, we'll be looking maybe at a 20 or 30 tops type of chance of precipitation. Most areas will remain dry. So again, not a major system. After that, Sunday looks dry, and it also looks dry going into early next week. But that's when we start to see that upper air pattern change with that southwesterly flow, and we begin to see our temperatures ramp back up to at least above, if not much above normal levels. In terms of precip here for the next week, you can see it varies anywhere from 3/4 to as much as an inch across portions of southeastern lower Michigan. Much of that will be tonight, here later on today and tonight with the system going through here, the cold front and the storms. And then also the chance over the weekend. But much of the precipitation you see here is what's expected to fall over the next 24 hours. In some cases for northern lower Michigan, for example, you can see less than 1/4 of an inch for the whole week. So drier than normal conditions for a change for them, and then wetter as you go towards the southeast. Our potential evapotranspiration rates here looking at the next week, given a forecast of warmer than normal temperatures here, especially coming for the weekend and into next week, are above normal. So our water demand will be significantly higher than it typically is. The totals here you can see range from about 3/4 of an inch in upper Michigan to as much as maybe a little over an inch, 1.1 inches in portions of the south. But especially across southern lower Michigan, it will be above normal for what it typically is, or what we typically see from climatology here in mid-September. So something to think about if you've been missed by rainfall here over the last week or two, that will continue to be an issue certainly with warmer than normal or above normal temperatures are expected. In the medium range forecast time frame here, this is looking at the 6 to 10 day time frame between the 19th and the 23rd. The 8 to 14 day, very, very similar to this, but note here in our upper air, just like we saw at the beginning, troughing out over the west and then a big ridge over the east. That's a clear indication of above normal temperatures. And on the upper right-hand side here, looking at mean temperature departures from normal, very, very high likelihood or probability of warmer than normal weather. Matter of fact, it's as much as 90%, which is we don't see too often in this particular forecast product. So there's never a guarantee, of course, in this business, but that's pretty far out there in terms of confidence and probability for that warmer than normal scenario. Note that it also calls for above normal precipitation totals. And that's also true in the 8 to 14 day time frame. There's less confidence on that. I think that's probably a good bet, at least normal, maybe a little bit above normal. Depends on what kind of a storm track we get, again, moving out of the southern plains and into the Ohio Valley and into the Midwest here. But I think the real message is here, it's going to be very summer-like, especially next week and probably the week after that. Some of the departures we've seen from the forecast guidance suggest daytime temperatures 10 to 15 degrees above normal, which is really, really out there for this time of the year. So much, much more like summer than certainly than the early part of fall would be one of the take points. And then beyond that, looking here, first of all, for the month of September, this is a revised outlook for the month of September on the top, with mean temperatures on the left, and then precipitation totals on the right. You can see that it basically is the EC or equal chances category for both mean temperatures and precipitation. A little bit surprising, but the mean temperatures, I would note, basically goes back to the first week or so of September when we actually were a little bit below normal, cooler than normal. And the thinking was we would bounce back to see warmer than normal later on, and there would be some cancellation. Right now, though, it looks as though the warmer than normal temperatures that are forecast will probably more than compensate for that cooler temperatures. It probably will end up the month, if the medium range is correct, definitely in the above normal category, with no direction on precip. Then down below that, and we've looked at this before just as a review, but for the September through November period, still are expecting mean temperatures to end up warmer than normal with no direction on precipitation. That we've seen that outlook here for several months. So no real change there looking beyond that, and even into the early winter, same forecast scenario as well. So summarizing here, a very active weather pattern here today. Keep an weather eye out for conditions, especially in southeastern lower here as the day goes on. There probably will be some watches or some weather advisories that'll be needed because of the thunderstorms. And then after the front passes through overnight here, much nicer, fair, cooler, and drier for the next couple days. Tomorrow probably will be the coolest day of the upcoming week, with a gradual warming trend thereafter. And then by the end of the weekend, we'll be back to the middle of, it'll feel like summer again, especially across the central and southern parts of the state. Increases in humidity, and our temperatures will be back up well into the 80s. We could even possibly see some 90-degree maximum temperatures once again, I think, at some point next week. So summer is not done yet. We still have another 1 to 2 weeks of it. And well, it is what it is, but the water needs will still remain high as a result of that. That's I think one of the take-homes. And I'll stop there and turn it back to you. Thanks, Kevin.
Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate it. So I guess if we like the warm weather, we'll enjoy it. And I'm sure fall and winter will get here soon enough. So thanks for your update. And we're going to see you back here in 2 weeks, where we're going to do a little bit of a season-long recap, and looking forward to what happens, or predicting maybe what winter will be like a little bit.
All righty, we'll do it. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Thank you, Jeff.